Welcome! In this explainer, we're digging into the law of prosperity from Florence Scovel Shinn's classic, The Game of Life. And we're going to go way beyond just money to really unpack a framework for building this internal sense of abundance that can hold steady no matter what's going on around you.
So let's start with a feeling I think we've all had at some point. Have you ever noticed that the harder you hustle, the more you work, the less peaceful and secure you actually feel? It's this really frustrating paradox, right? The more you strive, it seems, the less you have.
Well, we can call this the effort paradox, that feeling of just running faster and faster to stay in the exact same place. It tends to happen when all our effort is really being driven by this deep, underlying fear of not having enough. So today, we're going to unpack why this happens and introduce a new way of looking at things, a framework that sees prosperity not as something you get from struggle, but as a practice of alignment.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll lay out a new framework for prosperity. Then we'll get into the main problem, what we're calling the scarcity trap. After that, we'll explore two powerful solutions, the practice of flow and how to align your words with your actions. And we'll wrap it all up with a really simple practical reset you can start using immediately.
Okay, let's jump in. The core idea from Shinn here is a really radical shift in how we think. She says that prosperity isn't something you chase or collect. It's a character practice. It's all about learning to govern your internal state, which then in turn starts to shape your external world.
So what exactly is this practice? Well, it's really a combination of three things: flow, stewardship, and something Shinn calls clean expectation. The big insight here is that prosperity is about our internal state first. You know, the ancient Stoics had a very similar idea, that our mind is the one and only domain we can truly command. Shinn says true, lasting prosperity begins right there, inside that empire of the mind.
And to make this really practical, we can break it down into these three pillars. First up is flow. That's about understanding the natural rhythm of giving and receiving. Second is stewardship, which is all about the wise and virtuous use of everything we already have. And third, there's clean expectation, and this is the discipline of aligning what we think and what we say with the outcomes we actually want to see happen.
Now, before we can really apply this framework, we have to understand the main obstacle. The reason why more effort can actually lead to less peace is something we can call the scarcity trap. It's basically what happens when fear becomes our go-to advisor for everything.
You know, a century ago, Shinn had a brilliant term for this. She called it inverted faith. Basically, having more faith in a bad outcome than a good one. It's a fantastic phrase. But today, modern psychology has a more clinical name for it, a scarcity mindset. And this isn't just a bad mood, it's a whole cognitive state, a kind of thinking trap that literally distorts how we see reality.
This chart really breaks down what's happening inside our heads. Research on what's called cognitive bandwidth shows that when we feel scarce, our minds go into this state of tunneling. We get hyper-focused on the immediate problem, like a bill that's due tomorrow, and we lose sight of everything else. We just don't have the mental space for long-term planning or for spotting new opportunities. It's kind of like trying to navigate a whole city while only looking down at your own 2 feet.
And this gets at a timeless human challenge. The Stoic philosopher Seneca put it perfectly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. See, in this view, poverty isn't really an external condition. It's an internal state of constant craving. So both Shinn and Seneca are saying the same thing. The real path to wealth is about mastering the empire of our own mind, not just collecting more stuff.
So how do we actually escape this trap? Well, the first practice is mastering flow. This is the art of giving and receiving, and it's a concept that goes so much deeper than just simple transaction.
Shinn's key mechanism for this is what she calls the spiritual vacuum. Now, the idea here is that the act of giving fearlessly, without expecting a direct tit-for-tat return, creates an opening, a space, and the natural flow of universal supply just rushes in to fill it. It's really a law of reciprocity. I mean, think about it. You can't receive anything with a closed fist. And this idea is far from new. It's deeply rooted in classical philosophy. Aristotle described the virtue of liberality as the golden mean, that perfect middle path between wasteful spending and stingy hoarding. And the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius put it even more beautifully, suggesting that the only wealth you ever truly keep is the wealth that you give away.
So, how do we take this from just a mindset into an actual practice? Well, if flow is the principle, then aligning our words and our actions is the application. This is really about preparing for your own success. According to Shinn, our words are basically directives. They're not just descriptions of what is, they are creative forces. She argues that whatever we say, our subconscious mind takes it as a literal command. And this lines up perfectly with the modern psychological concept of self-efficacy, the belief in our own ability to succeed. Our words either build up that belief or they tear it down, and that directly influences our actions.
But of course, words by themselves aren't enough. Action is what shows what you truly believe. Shinn is very clear on this. You must prepare for the good you have asked for. If you're asking for a fantastic new opportunity, but you never get around to updating your resume, you're sending a very mixed signal. If you want a more connected partnership, you prepare for it by becoming a better listener. Preparing for success is what impresses that new reality onto your subconscious mind.
This is the practice of acting as if. It's all about embodying the state you want to achieve before it's fully manifested. Now, this isn't about pretending or faking it. It's about alignment. It's about closing the gap between your inner vision and your outer behavior. That resume update, that conscious effort to listen, those actions signal a genuine, clean expectation of success.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually start doing this? Let's bring it all down to earth with a super simple, practical reset that you can begin using right now to shift your mental habits.
Here it is in 3 simple steps. First, just identify one scarcity thought. Don't judge it, just notice it. A really common one is, I can't afford that. Step 2, release it. You can actually thank that thought for trying to keep you safe, because that's what it's trying to do, and then consciously let it go. And third, replace it. Verbally state a new truth. So instead of, I can't afford it, you might say, I am always well supplied. Shinn would say, your word is your wand. Use it to change your reality. And that really brings us to the core message of this whole framework. True, unshakable prosperity. It's not about a number in a bank account. It is the internal result of a mind that is at peace, a mind that trusts its own connection to an infinite supply. So this leaves us with one final question for you. What is one scarcity thought that you are ready to release this week? We've seen how that effort paradox can keep us stuck, and we've explored a 3-part framework of flow, stewardship, and clean expectation to find a way out. Remember, this is a practice, not a quick fix. In our next explainer, we're going to go even deeper into the power of the word. You can find the full series right in the playlist. Thanks for watching.